Let's go.
Hey, greetings everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Branding Beardos. And you can see there's actually three of us here today. Our third guest,
First time,
not our
first
third
time.
guest, our new guest, yes, and the first guest that we have on our show, who coincidentally does not have a beard, but it's okay. He's still welcome on our show. He is KENT TEO. He's the CEO and founder of Invade, a retail-centric company most known for organizing massive lifestyle events like Artbox Singapore. And most recently, Kent is also part of MCCY's Shape Your Somerset project and sits on the working panel that seeks to inject new life into our now very boring and very quiet Somerset Orchard area. Welcome, Ken, to the Branding Beardos podcast.
Welcome.
Hi, hello everyone. Hi Kenneth, hi John. Thanks for having me here today at the podcast. Yeah, happy to share some of the questions that you might have. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually
Very
have
excited
many.
to have you. We have many questions.
We have. But
Uh,
we'll try and
Okay.
condense it all.
yeah. I think one
Sure,
of the
sure.
things, can because you're basically headlining or running, four massive assets at one go. Of course,
Yeah.
with Artbox being like such a massive event, you know, I really am interested to know, as the first ever such type of event in Singapore, what were your internal team challenges? How do you keep it all together and pull that big thing off?
I think it's our first Artbox was 2017, right?
Mm,
So I think before that, we know each other back then, right? So we have been organizing markets, pop-up stores, creative artisans kind of pop-up concepts over the past since 2010, right? So all along we've been building up the massive database of like retailers, merchants, F&B guys, and whatnot, right? So then that is where we have like built up also long-term working relationship,
mm,
right, with all
mm.
our contractors, suppliers, coordinators, basically all the stakeholders, right? So what I'm trying to say that it is not like a wow, like one day I wake up, I have this good idea that I want to do it immediately. No, I don't think
Yes.
it happened that way. I think it went through a very, very long journey
Mm.
since 2010, right? So when the first Upbox happened, we were like 7 years into our business already. Then we thought that we kind of like ready, but it's not as if the Artbox opportunity like kind of like present it right in our face back then. It was
Oh,
actually a kind of like a opportunity that we stumble across, right? So I think my team and I were like, already going to like Bangkok to take a look at some of the concepts. We are looking at some of the pop-up retail concept or some of the co-working spaces back then, right? So to get some inspirations. It's only then we stumble across like there's this opportunity that hey, Artbox is coming into Singapore, right?
Mm.
Do you want to be part of it and everything? So when we will say that, oh, okay, you know what, we have been doing markets, we have been doing like sourcing of vendors, merchants and whatnot in Singapore. We know the regulations very well. Let's try lah, right? Let's try, right? So upon the confirmations, we only left with 45 days to unbox.
oh, oh,
It, be
Holy
it
shit.
whatever reasons
yeah.
it's all the legacies issue already, right? Be any reasons. So but then it's mostly down to the space availability as well as the dates availability, right? So
Mm.
for back then it was at Marina Bay event space, right? So we were dealing with URA and whatnot. So by then all the confirmation comes in, right? I remember very, very clearly, right? I think it was like Chinese New Year day one or day two that we got the confirmation that we are going to roll it out in 45 days in April for the first Artbox. So I'm like back then, lah, before the whole Artbox say happen, right? There's already a lot of publicity, a lot of informations and everything going out already, like
Yeah.
wildfire,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
It was like I don't know, like maybe Singapore is like too boring or something, right? So in the end it was like by then when we realized that, so we don't even know the idea of like a PR agency.
Mm.
Wow.
So bear with me, so we don't
Wow.
even know,
Pressure,
right?
leh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then people write in, a PR agency wrote into us and said that, hi, we saw that you have a lot of articles, medias, people
Mm,
looking for you for interviews and whatnot. do you need our service? So then
Oh,
they start
Wow, we
bringing up.
must
That was
try
like,
to do that. Huh?
yeah, that was fast.
yeah, so basically when the news got out, that is where we have various stakeholders coming to us and say that, hey, I can do this, I can do that, I have
Wow.
containers, I have that. So I guess it was that approach that and said, hey, okay, we need this, okay, we need that. So kind of like the 45 days was like intense of like collaboration, speeding up conversation, and try to deploy it for the first time, because the biggest we ever did was like maybe 120 stores, 130 stores. That's the best, really.
Yeah.
That is where we
Wow.
did it at Tanjong Pagar railway station.
55,000 visitors in one day. I
Yes,
think.
correct. So it was like SLA. They say that, hey, we are going to close Tanjong Pagar railway station for the next 20-30 years, right? So do you want to do help us with our open house? So then that is where I think the single turnout is what, 55,000 visitors. We were like shocked at the amount of that. Back then, of course, there's no security check, everything, because nobody knows that we're going to expect such a crowd, you see.
Yeah.
So I guess that was our most recent experience already, 55,000. That's it, right? 120 stores, right? So I mean, so with that kind of experience, then we thought that, okay, Artbox, let's try, right? Let's try. So then that is all the preparation work that we did for Artbox. To the best of our ability.
So for Artbox, you're saying that the business lesson here is that it was all the elements were prepared for like 7 years before you could really take advantage of an opportunity like Artbox.
Yeah. So I would say that I don't know whether 7 years is enough, because when Artbox happened, it was like, wow, like the learning curve is like so steep, right? So but the 7 years does help a little. Like, say our contractors already know the drill, right? They know that maybe say, for example, our vendors, right? Although they say that, oh, I just need one PowerPoint, that's all, right? But when it comes to the event sites, they one PowerPoint go connect to one soap bar connect to another soap bar, right? So in the end, one 13M PowerPoint, they will like connect to like 13 different appliances, per event, right? So it's insane. So then what's more is like there are like people that is like, it's not just the laptop or handphone charger, it is like kitchen equipment. So I'm like, hey, guys, come on. So we are like shocked at that thing. So I guess with all those relationships that we built with our contractors, right? It's all like, even our cleaning contractor, our plumbers, our electricians, our like those tentage companies, right? So I think it took a while, right? We had like maybe 4 or 5 sessions, like all of us gathered together, right, to really look at the site, right? It's like back then we only requested for 1/4 of the Marina Bay event space, so it's about 60,000 square feet. So it's already quite huge already.
Quite huge, right?
Right. Yeah, it's quite big already. So all of us are looking, wow, like what does it take? You see, so back then, when we were doing the preparation work, there isn't like so there's no water supply to the whole event space. There isn't. So I'm like, okay. So then how about power? They say no, don't have power supply.
You bring your own gen set.
Oh man.
So it's just tarmac, 60,000 square feet of tarmac, and that's all. There's no infrastructure. So we have to find, like, the nearest point is the City Gallery. It's the URA Center City Gallery, where you see the whole Marina Bay infrastructure, the blueprint, everything, right? The history, everything. So they got a 1-inch pipe or 2-inch pipe. That's all. It's like they wash their hand that kind of thing. So that's the only water source.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay. Our plumber is like saying, can we use that. Then I say, how? Just one pipe, you have to power 100, 200, 300 stores. They say, we can think of it, we can find a way.
Very confident, the fella. That means that you're quite an amazing fella. If someone is willing to lay down himself and say, I do it for you, or you chop my head, kind of thing. So ready to
So I'm thankful. So they already know our style, our working style, our challenges, right? So it's very different from a regular event. There are, like, because we are dealing with 200, 300 other stakeholders at the events. It's not just us alone, right? They have to, all the merchants, all the performances, and the sponsors and whatnot. So I guess that was the intensity of it, lah. Yeah.
But in those kind of moments, like with your team, right? I mean, I'm sure your team was, they had their backs to the wall. Like, it was like a jalat moment. have to say.
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah,
motivate them like that? For me, if I'm one of them, I would have died already now.
I guess they are very enterprising in that sense. They know that, confirm already. We have like, I think our first one was about 250 stores, right? So I know Unbox year one done, signed, everything. So they know that there's nothing to look behind already, right? If the moment you look behind, you're wasting a lot of time because there's only like 45 days left, right? So I remember clearly my ops team, right? So there is this trade fair application, right? So then each and every store, they need to have a food store license, right? So in the end, we apply for all of them. So I think he and his colleague, they didn't sleep for 48 hours just to apply all the application.
Wow.
Right?
Oh my
So
god.
we don't have the trade fair at all. So it's illegal to organize art box even 24 hours before art box. It is considered illegal. So the stress is like, wow, like why are we even doing this?
Yeah.
When did it get approved?
Illegal.
It get approved 1 hour before unbox started.
Holy shit.
So when 3
Holy
p.m.
cow.
it starts, 2 p.m. we got the approval. In principle some more. So we don't even have
Oh
time to
my
print
God.
the trade fair license.
Oh.
Yeah, so I guess that was the adrenaline rush, you see, back
So
then.
if you have heart problems, don't join Ken.
Don't do events.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
you cannot postpone events, right? The dates is like
that's
firm, they locked in
done.
already, right? Yeah. So then, I mean, that was the first problem to everything lah. Of course, everything else is like, it's like way worse. After that, it's like way worse. I can share. It's like we could spend like hours and hours and talk about it. But yeah, that was the first issue. Then after that, there's like tons and tons of more issues coming up after that. Yeah.
But one thing that come to my mind, right? Because we are talking about these big, huge numbers. Now, as you know, what has happened this year with the virus. What do you think is going to be the future of events going to be like? I mean, 55,000 people going for one event. It's not going to happen. What is going to be the new norm then for the events industry? What do you foresee?
Well, there have been a lot of discussions, observations, even among industry players. We talk among ourselves, right? It's not as if it's very big, right? The industry, live events, right? Live events. COVID-19 changes the retail landscape as well as the events landscape forever, right? So we are in that space. I mean, just nice, right? Be it retail or events, we are in that space. So for the past 10 years, that's what we have been doing, right? So then comes the point, like, I mean, DBM Heng said, made some sense. He said that, it's a very, very good time to, pivot and transform, right? So of course, at the start, I was like, refused to accept the fact. I'm like, who got the time to pivot and transform, right? I mean, we got 10 years of our resources, our capacity, our teammates, everyone. They're so savvy in what
10 years,
in what we are doing already. How can we pivot and throw away everything that we know, right? And then it's like starting from afresh, right? So that caught us thinking, So we tried to not join the tide, like try to overcome it, that kind of thing. So from end February 2020, right, we are done with our last event, which is a Eat Box that we work with Downtown East, right? So it's a bite-sized art box, right? So we done with that. Then from end Feb till end March, so we have this 1 month to kind of like quickly figure out, what are we going to do, what are we trying to do. So every time we try to think of a solution, I say, okay lah, maybe we don't do such a big event, we do smaller events, right? Then there's new advisory that come in place, right? 250 packs, right? So then after I say, hey guys, never mind. Geylang Serai is still doing what? If Geylang Serai is still happening, we are okay, we are safe, So we still got that kind of false hope. Now we think of it, it's quite funny, but back then we had that hope. I said, yeah, Geylang Serai is still going on, what's stopping us, let's do Shiling again. Let's do our Taiwanese night market, Shiling night market again, you know, in June. Yeah, theirs is in April, so we are safe. June is safer, right? So we had that wishful thinking. So then every week, that is where we receive more and more advisory from MOH. Right, so I think that's our biggest competitor already, MOH, right? They say that 250 packs, then 10 packs. Then the circuit breaker announcement happened when we were like, so 2 days before the circuit breaker happened, 2 days before, I kind of like gave up. So I told everyone, it's like, okay, guys, based on the whole track, right? Based on whatever the whole observation that we see, right? Let's stop trying really. Let's stop trying to do live events, right? Like, so 2 days before the circuit breaker announcement, I already had I gave up. I say, okay, you know, rest our swords and like, okay, forget it, you know. So then that is where I had this idea of like going digital, right? So, but okay lah. Obviously, the right answer is okay, let's go online. But the whole world is going online, right? So how do you immediately think like low hanging fruit? You don't need to spend 6 figures to come up with some technology investment. Your existing team still makes sense unless you are prepared to fire all your entire 20-30 men. And last but not least, you still serve your stakeholders. You still serve your stakeholders, right? So with these 4 factors considered thoroughly, like it just went on my mind for that 2-3 weeks, and it's like I keep thinking how to fulfill these 4 factors and pivot, right? So that's where, okay, how about we do a digital festival, right? It is not, it's complementing. We are still like an aggregator. We are not like competing with Shopee. We are not like fighting with GrabFood or Foodpanda. We are like a digital festival. There isn't like a benchmark. Benchmark or per se is like what exactly is a digital festival, right? So kind of have the first mover per se. So I guess that's where we decided to, okay, let's try lor. So I of course have to pitch to my own team first lah. Like I have to get their buy-in. I have to pitch and say, hey, yeah, I know already. So it's like even if you are like the boss or the founder or the CEO, right, all these titles no use one. In the company, you are basically the lowest life form in the company.
Because they will ask you, can do or not?
And the next question will be, how long do you want us to do this? That's the timeline to complete. So I understand that it was done damn fast. How long?
Damn fast.
Your team?
Fast. I think it took us less than 3 weeks to throw away 10 years of our knowledge and restart, right? So 3 weeks. So by the end of the 3 weeks, that is where we do the new slick. So I mean, Kenneth will know lah. So it's very, very strategic and technical. So we might not have we don't even know what we are doing yet, but we just tell our PR, you know what? Just announce that we are doing a digital festival. So our PR say, you sure? You have nothing? I said, I have nothing. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but just launch first. Just say that we are going digital, right? So then I
really
said, okay, let's do it. So then the Channel News Asia is the first one to pick up. Then they only pick up once, they pick up twice. They covered us twice for this Shiling going digital twice. Then that is where Smart Local, Yahoo News, Aspects, Choice and everything, they start covering. So by the end of the week, we have like 60 articles sharing about how, you know, Shiling is going digital, right? Wow. So we were like, okay, we fulfill our first objective already. We let the whole world know that we are doing that already, right? So that is where so we only have 60 days, right? I don't want to go beyond 60 days also. I also don't want, I could tell the team that, hey, never mind, I'll take our own time lah, 90 days, 120 days, you know, let's do our digital festival. No, let's try to do that in 60 days. Why? I think a lot of factors falling back on the advisories. So the advisories back then state that, right, the 250 packs, right, will be in place till end June, right? And then the circuit breaker is till early June. So I guess if you want to try out something crazy, something different, something that, you know, Singaporeans are, you know, be more receptive to try, right? When things are not back to normal yet, I guess the best period is June. The latest we can go is June anyway.
That's my
sensing. Yeah, so that's my sensing back then. So it's like, be it whatever the advisory, 60 days, let's do that. So that is when, so we give ourselves a counter timer, right? If you go shilling.sg, there's the timer is there, right? So
Yes.
that is where we try to aggregate all the different stakeholders that might be interested to explore with us.
Okay.
Right? So that's why on board now we have like Shopee is coming on board, Singtel Dash is coming on board.
Wow.
We have like Circus Life, we have all the different agencies. I think we are talking to Fanny. I don't know whether you know her, Fanny Ang, Movie Mob, the movie mob guys lah. So they've been organizing outdoor movie screening. So
Nice.
they are doing this movie mob trivia, right? So things like that. So we are aggregating all this content. SGAG is coming on board as well. Left Profile is coming on board as well. So we are going to gather all this content together. Then in terms of the merchants, we have like 100 over merchants that's coming on board with us right now. So I guess it's taking the shape and form already at this stage right now. Yeah. So that's where we are for REIT. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing more shooting digital market. This again, it seems like the circumstances have pushed you towards doing like Singapore's first digital market, and it's very interesting to see it that way and achieve like something with tremendous speed. So the other thing that I wanted to ask you is, you guys also run or have a co-working space, right? So like, besides COVID-19, has the bad rep from companies like WeWork affected you, and how do you think co-working space brands should move forward?
Yeah, especially like co-working spaces, right? All meant for interaction. And now interaction
now
is
it's like no
frowned
interaction.
upon. You put a pool
Correct,
table out
correct.
there for community engagement. Now you can't use
Yeah,
anything
becomes
without
a
spraying it
hazard
down.
point, right?
Yeah, become
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a negative when it used to be a
Yeah.
positive.
Correct. So I think even before COVID, we look at, I mean, some of the co-working giants lah. So we want to steer clear of their path, right? So okay, we are not like a heavily backed company. We are not like tens of millions in our pockets. It's always bootstrap for us, right? So
Great.
that is where we go very, very lean to say that, hey, let's set up a co-working space. But then when we set up Mox co-working at Juche Katong, so to us it is more like how do we serve our stakeholders? It's always hyper focus on like our stakeholders, right? So we thought that some of our retailers, our merchants, they have been with us for the past 7 years, 8 years already, right? Back then when we started Mox in 2017. So how about a space where we can get them to come together, co-retail, co-making, whatever it is, right? Basically like a community club to house our merchants and our retailers and our makers and our artisans, right? So I think that's where we have the mindset in mind, and we kind of like differentiate from a typical co-working space, which is like heavily geared towards tech startups, heavily geared towards funded companies, right? Millions of dollars, because we have been bootstrapping for the past 7 years. We know the horror and the torture, right? When we look for office space, number one, we will consider per square feet how much lah, Wi-Fi need to apply or not lah, and stuff. So it's just so challenging, right? So we even for ourselves back then, without all this sharing economy, we moved from office to office, right? Just because like, hey, we're doing good, then we maybe get more people. Doing lousier, then we get lesser people. It's just the way it is, right? So back then we realized that, hey, maybe it's time to house them together, house everyone together, right? More flexible rates. We know that we need to give flexible rates, right? We don't understand why do we need a free flow beer, right? For example, right? It's not a feature that I thought is necessary. Right, so we thought that
free flow kombucha isn't necessary.
Yeah, so to us it's like, but they need a photography studio. Our creative need photography studio, 3D printers, sewing machines, and all these facilities, art galleries and whatnot. So that is where we build all these facilities, and it's not that we build it alone, bootstrap ma. So we find partners. Let's say, for example, you're a carpenter, but you don't mind to share your tools when you're not using. right? So okay, then we set up a carpentry room, right? Or 3D
Wow.
printers. You have 3D printers. Is again the education, the adoption of 3D printing is not that prevalent in Singapore yet. So they don't mind again put up some of their machines to do some classes and yet let people to share, right? So again, then the photography studio. Not all photographers need to have your own photography studio. You can share as well. So our photography studio now is like a lot of donated props and everything. It's very community driven, very community driven. Then that is where now it's the most popular studio already. So everybody is just renting it from us and everything. But it's very flexible rate. It's only like $20 or $30 per hour. So it's very affordable rates for them, right? So I guess that is the power of sharing economy. That's the way that I think we pivot ourselves from a typical co-working space. Co-working is not just providing tables and Wi-Fi, then you call it a co-working. I think it's heavily reliant on the community. So we get our community managers to have like monthly session, but it's not just like come together and eat and share, but it's more like, hey, you have a business, take the opportunity to share and then play. Like so we have this quite cool. I mean, can introduce to both of you. So they are the #1 most successful Kickstarter campaign in Singapore. So they raised $250,000 in 30 days, and their product is to be able to teach 10 hours of programming into a 30 minutes card game. So they gamify 10 hours of programming into a card game. Just playing card game. Yeah, so they raised $250,000. Potato Pirates, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So then they are very popular among schools, right? So all the schools is like saying, wow, 10 hours of programming in 30 minutes, right? So then they are very popular among schools. So these are some of our creative tenants that is residing in MOOCs right now. That I see the whole empowerment. I see through collaborative effort we are able to bring them to overseas as well, because we launched a MOOCs in KL, right? This year January.
Right.
So I guess that is where pre-COVID where MOOCs is. But of course, with COVID happens, that is where again, right? So how do we then pivot when we are all crazy about co-working spaces? So unfortunately, it is not easy, right? But we have we always been engaged with our community. So we actually set up some of maybe Facebook groups to like consolidate all of them, share certain resources, or maybe they can help others, right? We can just share within a Facebook group, for example.
The community still continues. I mean, regardless of the physical space or not.
Yeah. So I just need a group that a place where I can like talk to them and engage them, everyone all together, right? So then we are also exploring like a post circuit breaker, right? What can we do? Of course, we need to assure them that they are in a very safe and sanitized environment, right? Because it's all about sharing economy, right? So with the sharing economy mindset in place, so we know that, hey, if you run your own workspace, or you run your own private office, right? You might not have the resources or the time lah. Like, I need to do temperature checking lah. I need to log lah. I need to sanitize lah. Every morning I need to make sure somebody sanitizes. So all these things maybe we can do. So it's all part of a sharing economy ma. It's part of a co-working environment ma. So take it that we take care for you, right? So it still makes sense in the sharing economy, as long as we continue to share whatever their pain point is, right? So I guess that's where we are doing, as well as a virtual office space. We are trying to look at it as well. What does it mean by a virtual sharing office space? We are toying the ideas. So these are some of the ideas that's like coming up along the way right now.
For me, it's really amazing, that people, because sometimes we talk about this sharing economy. Wow, very nice term, fuzzy, make you feel good. But a lot of people don't know how to really get about doing it. But it seems to be you seem to really got it knocked straight onto the head with this. Because when I talk to other people about sharing economy, then the first thing will be like, the first question to me will be, so if I share this, then what do I get in return? So it's always about the ROI for them. I put in this amount of
Yeah.
effort, means my gains must be more than that. So
Correct.
what was the things, because me and Kenneth, we were talking about this earlier, about the culture of building and having this sharing point. What is it that what was so successful for you? Because we are hearing all this, but
What do you think is
really-
important?
Yeah, what was so important that made everyone so willing and so happy to do this? You know,
I think it's really a lot on community building. It is not an easy task because if I'm a member in MOX and you are a member in MOX, without any how to say business, right? We don't have to talk to each other one.
We don't have the relationship, so to speak.
We don't have the relationship, everything. So it's a very, very I would say it's a very, very dirty job. It's a very, very you get your hands dirty in the sense that you have to kind of facilitate both parties that have no interest of each other to try to talk to each other and explore and collaborations. Things might or might not happen, but at least we talk, right? We try to connect the dots, right? It doesn't mean that you have a huge database of creative, then you try to connect with everybody. I would say that with the right timing and the right context and with the right kind of setting, with some networking events to like facilitate a conversation, I think then you will kind of like facilitate a conversation there and there, right? So I always believe that co-working or in that sharing environment, right, is really about the people. Is rather than the hardware that you can provide or the accessibility that you can provide, right? So bear in mind, our co-working space is in Juchiat, right? There is no MRT. The bus stop is like 100 meters away. It's not exactly the most accessible spot, right? But we managed to retain all of them, right? We have about 200 creative over there right now. So it really we invest heavily on the community building, right? And it's part of the bigger ecosystem, you see. So we are able to tap some of our creative stakeholders in our art box, Shiling, right, in our cafe that we launched, right? So we have this bigger ecosystem that we intentionally want to enable them, right? So I guess that is how we continue our effort to build out the community within the ecosystem. I think that's the
amazing.
key thing. That's the key thing.
That's amazing.
I think also the good thing is that when you build up such a community, if you are going to be those kind of fella don't want to contribute by expecting a lot, everyone will be able to pick out who you are and immediately cut you off.
It's actually quite obvious. Yeah, it's actually quite obvious.
There we go.
Yeah, it's actually quite obvious. Yeah. So I mean, thankfully, then when we launch MOX Malaysia, that is where we have like the Malaysia Creative, sharing their ideas. We even have our webinar sessions about two creative members from Malaysia, two creative members from Singapore. Then we just talk lah. We just like what are some of the interesting ideas that they managed to pivot or then to get it out during this whole COVID, right? Malaysia is MCO, ours is like the circuit breaker. How are we faring during this period? Yeah,
I think this is also a very good pointer that we are bringing up for people out there, because there is a very large number of people out there who still think that a sharing economy equate to charity work. Believe it or not. Whenever I say this sharing economy, so what kind of charity work do you do? I said it's nothing to do with charity. So this is your answer here straight from the guy.
And what I really like about your model, Ken, is that you are not looking at VC money as the only way out, right? A lot of people will go, I raised 5, 10, whatever million, from VC, and let's go spend the money, let's do it. But you're like changing the way, right? You're taking a different approach, which is a very, like you said, bootstrap, a very to the ground, very
organic,
realistic, very pragmatic way of starting businesses. Yeah, like it is revenue. It is that getting people together and then using the power of a community to get to the next level. And I really think that's really cool. In fact, that's the common thread in all of your, like, whether it's Upvox, like Shiling Digital, or even MOX, right? Is that that like sense of like thread or community. That's really cool.
I think you point out a good point. So I think my principle of like business making is like what does it take to make your first dollar, If it's
Wow.
if you tell me that the first dollar you say you spend 10,000 to earn that first dollar, is that really a business or is that just a project, right? So
Now
to me,
that's a charity.
yeah, that's
That's
the
a charity.
yeah. So I mean that's my school of thought lah in business making. Of course, there are ways of like raising like 10 millions, like 100 millions to build certain technology, like user acquisition costs and whatnot. I guess they have a different endpoint, different endpoint for as compared to us, right? So ours is call us old school or traditional businesses, right? Where what does it take to make when you earn your first dollar? I think then that is called business lah. Right? And
Yes.
if you tell me that it takes like what ways and churns like different amount, then I'll tell you that maybe the business model is not too sound, not working, right? So maybe you have to take a different approach then, right? So I guess that is my school of thought for business making. Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Okay,
one
last question,
going
Ken.
back- Wait, before you go to your last question, I got one more
Okay.
second last question.
Second last
Because this sharing economy thing is getting bigger, and also there are people because it is very normal in our nature, especially here, maybe not in Singapore only, but also Asia, being Asians, that they will say like, if I refer business to you, is there a point of time at any time did you see someone actually keeping track of how many referrals they are receiving from people?
I if those that are keeping track, right, probably they how to say too calculative. I don't know. Like it's
Won't survive, right? In your
yeah,
setup.
yeah.
Won't survive.
My personal principle is like karma lah. So if you want them to contribute to you, then do it for them, right? And not exactly like you don't not necessarily you're expecting anything in return, but at least pay it forward in that kind of approach lah. So I think that's my thinking. It shouldn't be like, hey, I refer you 10, you should refer me 10 also. I think that's very hard to it's like too tiring to count all these things, right?
Yeah.
I've been in a setup before. I mean, I will not mention the name of that,
Sure.
It becomes like a weekly thing where everyone has to stand up and then start sharing about how many referrals I gave to this person, how many. So you can imagine the fellow who couldn't do it, but maybe because the things that he's selling is so expensive or what it is, so then stand up. Oh, I have nothing to share.
Yeah.
It makes
That's very painful.
not for lack of trying, no, it's just totally cannot. Then when you create this kind of thing, then everyone's going to give you the evil eye and that fella, let's kick him out, that kind of thing. That's why I like your setup so much. It's really banding together, especially in a moment of time like now, where truly sharing is so important to go forward, because we have it. Let's share. We all make together, right? Don't just one person make the 10 million, $1, right?
Correct. So we have this advisor in residence program in MOX. So we have one brand agency and one legal advisor. So every month will provide 1 hour of free session for any of our members to come aboard to have a 15 minutes quick session with them. So if you have like some legal issues, right, and you want to like just have a quick chat with my our advisor in residence, you can just book an appointment with him, right? It's completely complimentary, right? Nice. So he's happy to share like an hour of his time per month, just to have a quick word, right? If you need a more in-depth solution, of course you can engage him separately, right? So then how do we get what's our partnership with them, right? So for example, I told them that, hey, maybe you can use our facilities at 0 to low cost rates, right? So in that I converted that value into something for our members to tap into. Wow. So because a lot of them are saying that no point telling us that Taobao earn how much lah, or that Giant earn how much, because it's like we are not them. 99% of our companies are SMEs. You don't know, because whenever I went for like, unfortunately, like those like big 4 consulting groups, right? So like the seminars and the tech conference or the conference, it's like they will tell us very, very big numbers that what
Or
does
like
it mean to me?
Amazon, Taobao, that
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
lah.
yeah. Like, what does
Yeah.
it mean to me? You tell me all this
Yeah.
so, like, I can't be
Doesn't help
them, you
me.
see. So,
Yeah.
so that's why I strongly believe that if I'm a startup, probably I want to get advice from a $1 million company. If
Yeah.
I am a $1 million company, I'll probably want to get advice from a $10 million company. I guess it
That's
works
right.
up that way lah. I think it
That's
will be more
right.
effective that way. Yeah. So rather than from a startup, you say okay lah, startup. Then it's like your mentor is like a $10 million company. It's like hard lah. You see, because it's like really forget
No connect,
back in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't connect already.
Yeah.
It's like I was like, oh,
They
easy
forget
lah.
the grind already.
Yeah,
They
I spent
really-
$200 on
yeah.
marketing lah, right? Then your start was done. I don't have $200,000 in marketing, right?
Yeah.
So it's a mismatch lah. So I guess
Yeah.
that's what that's what I believe in. Yeah.
Okay. Last question is you talked about endpoints. For you, do you have endpoint? What, or if you don't, what do you think? Where are you going? Where do you think you're going?
So throughout the journey, it is very easy to get distracted. It's very, very easy to get distracted. I'll say that, why are you doing this? Isn't that better things to do out there and stuff like that? So along the way, there's a lot of distractions. So I
Right.
guess my end goal is to stay hyper focused, right? If all that we are doing is very, very retail centric, then eventually we are trying to build a retail as a service kind of arrangement for all these retailers, right? All our vendors, our merchants, right? Our primary target audience we identify right from the start is them, right? So if they need preferential rates or flexible rates and spaces from the landlords, okay, then we go speak to the landlords, right? If they want like huge visitorship audiences awareness for their brands, okay, then we go and bring the visitors to you, right? So that is what our primary customer are, which is our retailers, our merchants, our vendors, right? So that is our primary audience. So you got to stay hyper focused for them. So our end goal is to provide a retail as a service kind of platform. Currently, the tech platform is ready, so we are building that for them. So we believe that the retail landscape is has changed forever, right? So might be a very, very good time to kind of like activate this platform that we have, right? So to be able to curate, find all these interesting spaces with interesting concepts, so that the retailers are able to pop up, like be it for Artbox, Shiling, or be it for long term, right? We are occupying a retail space for 3+3 years, right? So what does it mean, right? So all these things are like interesting pop-up spaces for all of them. So right now, that is I can see that is the next 3 to 5 years kind of arrangement. If you ask me, next 10 years, I can't see that far yet, but I can simply to say 1, 3, 5 years, I roughly have the plans for it. Yeah.
Nice. Kent, thank you very much, ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you so much for being
Kent
guest
Teo,
number one.
Kent Teo, CEO
Thank you.
and founder of Invade. And please check out invade.co and also do a Google search for Shilin Digital Market, Singapore's first digital festival.
Remember to catch
Thank
us
you,
next week
thank you, John.
for
Thank
another
you, Kenneth.
episode of the
Thank you.
Branding Beardos. Don't forget to subscribe, or we will all haunt your dreams.
Sure,
Like
sure.
button below. See
Thanks.
you, Kent.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you
Thanks so much again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Oh, that was awesome.